This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
It's the day of reckoning for Sean Diddy Combs. If you're watching us live, if you're not, well, the verdict is coming in. And Sean Diddy Combs, of course, standing condemned, not by gossip columns, but by a jury in a federal courtroom. He's been convicted on 2 counts of transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution, arranging freak-off events with escorts and former partners. He escaped conviction on racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but those acquittals don't erase what he's been found guilty of doing. Now on the eve, or now on the day actually, of his sentencing, Combs has submitted a letter to the judge, and it reads like contrition. And we're gonna hear it. We're gonna listen to the whole letter through a simulated voice of Diddy, and we'll hear, kind of in his own words, while we watch some fine footage that also defines the man. For context. The whole letter, like I said, it reads like contrition, but in reality, it's a calculated reframe. He highlights his charitable work, his family, his supposed spiritual awakening, and the classic tools in a narcissist playbook. He's not simply taking responsibility, he's trying to reposition himself as a man deserving of mercy. What Combs is really trying to avoid is a sentence that forces him to truly own the harm he inflicted. He's trying to preserve his legacy, to shape the narrative before the judge even speaks. He's not just pleading for a shorter prison term. He's pleading to remain in control of his image even as the system closes in. I don't think this is humility. It's a maneuver. And it's exactly the kind of move a narcissist makes when accountability is finally at the door. The victims and the record demand consequences, not spin. And that's what this sentencing will decide. So we don't even know what the sentencing is because literally it's going on as we're recording this. We're going to go through the letter, and joining us to do that, we got Stacey, we got Todd, and we also have Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, former chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. Diddy also started a class while he was in prison, and he talks about it in the letter, and it's one of those things he's putting up basically on his resume of, dear judge, I think you should let me out because I'm going to go inspire the world.
He's a scholar now.
I know. I said very early on in all this, I said, what's going to happen? He's going to come out of here and he's going to become a preacher. Kind of feels like he almost might be doing that. What's your thoughts, Robin? Just here as we're about to go into sentencing, on what you think he should get versus what you think he will get before we go into the letter and everything else.
What he should get versus what he will get. That's the big question.
Yeah.
I can't believe he got acquitted on so many of the charges as it was. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea. I really don't have any idea. But what's interesting, so when I first saw about his class, the first thing that struck me was the class is about him because Diddy's in the title. Yeah. Then, of course, the curiosity strikes in. So I immediately did a deep dive. All right, how many other inmates conduct classes? How many do these things? And also then I said, how often has Diddy done these things in the past? When was the first time he did these things? So I'm always looking for what? Mm-hmm. That arc. Yeah. And so I discovered the arc and it came to where we are now. And so then you ask yourself, had he not been in jail, would he have done such a philanthropic type thing? No. So I don't see remorse here. I see, now granted, the other first impression I had was, oh, this guy's genius. Mm-hmm. Just, then you look at the content and I'm sure, so here's what's interesting. I'm sure because he is talented. And so this is where we see someone with that objective eye. He's got a lot of talent and he's got a lot to offer, but it's so corrupted by that self-serving narcissism that it's a shame it's getting lost in that. Because I'm sure, like when he first started his first school years ago, it was for inner city youth. I'm trying to look through my notes right now to find a title of it. It got great reviews. He was doing good things. But then if you look at the arc of him doing those things to serve a community, his involvement got more distant. He started handing it off to people. And even in the prison, I looked at this. He's got a teaching assistant. So how much is he really doing? I mean, who gets a teaching assistant? You're a friggin' convict. So it's a shame because I think people like him, you didn't get to where they are without having talent. And I get this feeling that it's being wasted. But yeah, this is, to me, it's an arc part of his manipulation because you don't go from being what he's accused of to all of a sudden having this aha moment before he's sentenced. You know, these are the kind of things that you go to prison after 10, 15, 20 years. And during that process, then you have your aha moment in life. Because it's hard. You know, it's just the Titanic hits or is coming up on an ice. You turn that rudder hard over. Ship starts slowly moving. And you still hit the iceberg, but not as much. So 0 to 100 on him, I don't believe it.
Wait till you hear the letter, and we'll break it down and we'll stop at places. But I also want to say, 50 Cent also released a statement, or a letter to the judge, if you will, this morning, and I'll read it right here. I'm gonna have to turn to do this. I have had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. It starts, Dear Judge Submarinian. He's very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments, despite his trying to teach a class in there. As you're already aware, the government has spent the maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appeared to be an army, in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his son, who's dealing with his own rape allegations, claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. Anyway, Diddy's only going to return to hiring more male sex workers and keeping most of the baby oil away from the general public.
Oh, my.
And
goodness.
babies need it. It's what he says. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon. So it's kind of a dig and kind of, I think, serious at the same time, but also he's been finding a lot of humor in the darkness of this, as have we. But that's the statement from 50 Cent this morning.
Look at behavior is rewarding. I mean, just even the acquittal, look at the behavior, it's rewarding. I really hope that the judge does some justice for the victims that didn't have justice by the fact of the sentence, not the sentence, the convictions. I mean, just, what a sham.
Let's start to listen to the letter here, and we'll stop if you want it to stop. If you want to make a comment, just raise your hand, throw something at your screen, do whatever you need to do. Just scream "stop" or something like that.
Careful what you wish for.
We'll
or Tony sing a song.
All right, here we go.
Dear Judge Supermania, I hope this letter finds you well and in good health and spirits. Thank you for the opportunity to express my thoughts to you. First and foremost, I want to apologize and say how sincerely sorry I am for all of the hurt and pain that I have caused others by my conduct. I take full responsibility and accountability for my past wrongs. This has been the hardest 2 years of my life, and I have no one to blame for my current reality and situation but myself. In my life, I have made many mistakes, but I am no longer running from them. I am so sorry for the hurt that I caused, but I understand that the mere words, "I'm sorry," will never be good enough, as these words alone cannot erase the pain from the past. Over the past 13 months, I have had to look in the mirror like never before. My pain became my teacher. My sadness was my motivator. I have to admit, my downfall was rooted in my selfishness. The scene and images of me assaulting Cassie play over and over in my head daily. I literally lost my mind. I was dead wrong for putting my hands on the woman that I loved. I'm sorry for that and always will be. My domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry. The remorse, the sorrow, the regret, the disappointment, the shame. I honestly feel sorry for something that I couldn't forgive someone else for if they put their hands on one of my daughters. This is why it is so hard for me to forgive myself. It is like a deep wound that leaves an ugly scar. Your Honor, I thought I was providing for Jane concerning her and her child, but after hearing her testimony, I realized that I hurt her. For this, I am deeply sorry, and I lost my way. I got lost.
That's the part that he's talking about the relationships about Cassie, and then there's the other Jane Doe that was brought up in the trial. That's who he's addressing there. But he's going to go into other areas on this. So I want to talk first about the Cassie and the other one that he thought he was providing for. What are you getting so far? And I should note this too, that it's not Diddy actually reading this. So before you go, oh, he sounds heartless. It's AI. Okay.
Yeah.
That is an AI version of him reading the letter.
It feels like a song. It sounds like he wrote I can't. I haven't had coffee today. Help me. Sorry. Let me start that over. It sounds like lyrics, like he is writing a song. Did it have kind of? I mean, obviously it was the cadence, but to me, it felt like there was a bridge of some sort.
Oh, believe me, that idea ran through my mind last night when I was putting that together. I mean, I was like literally thinking of like, ooh, with AI, I could like literally turn this into lyrics. I could have him rap it. I could put it to beats. And then I said, it's midnight. I'd like to go to bed.
Yeah, I get that.
And so you get classical music and Diddy reading it. That's what you got. No, I mean, look, it's very eloquently written. I'll give him that. He wrote it pretty well, and I'm guessing, he had how long to craft this letter and really make sure the final edit was going to be solid. And if you don't understand human behavior and you don't understand the arc of his behavior, you don't understand his baseline, and you just are taking this at face value, it sounds like someone who's really reformed. And then you realize he's a raging narcissist.
I mean, there's a good number of statements in there that are focused on how he feels and the impact on him. But again, if you're victim focused, which is what you should be, you wouldn't say anything about the impact on you. You should only be talking about, if this is genuine, sincere, and he's empathetic, the impact on others. Again, we can compare and contrast. Just think, and I know I keep bringing this up because I think it's a great example of injustice in our system. Richard Allen, Richard Allen, who is convicted of murdering those two sweet little girls. Everything he's ever said behind bars was the impact and being sorry for his wife. He never once said the suffering he went through, not once in anything he's ever said. And all you hear and hear for Diddy, because he had 13 months of being uncomfortable, is the impact on me. And it's interesting too because he's bringing up. I mean, to me, this is it's a strategic in what he put in there. So he's actually talking about people and what he did to them, and those aren't even the things he was convicted on. So why even bring it up? See what I mean? I mean, I get it. It's a strategic move to show he's sorry for the things that he should have been convicted about, like the assaulting of women and all that malfeasance, but he wasn't. So he's going to apologize for stuff he didn't get convicted of anyway.
It's controlling the narrative. He wants to put it all behind it. Now he wants to be an advocate going forward, and he's going to be the example. He's going to be the shining beacon on the hill. And everyone's going to come to Diddy. He's going to have a big statue out there, It's going to happen to look like Jesus, but it's going to be Diddy.
So here's what's going to work. I mean, everyone... You either like him or don't like him. If you like him, this is perfect. If you don't like him, it is what it is. And that's why it's very challenging, because when you have such a large cultist following around you, that cultish following could be rattled a little bit by this prosecution, but then he's acquitted of things. And now he's saying sorry. So I think he probably, in his cultish following, didn't lose a single person. Maybe one, because
I don't think he has a huge cultish following, though. I mean,
I hope not.
I think more people are more apt to go listen to R. Kelly than they are to Diddy, and I think
hope so.
Diddy was probably worse at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously not by what he was found guilty of, but it just opinion-wise, and if you're going to believe the survivors and the stories and the sheer volume of the hundreds of them that have come out about Diddy. What I'm worrying about with all of this is the public's ability to forget. The public's ability to forget, because it feels icky to think that, in the 90s, that you were listening to some of this music, and there's a lot of positive memories associated with it, ew, gosh, he did all these sort of things. I don't want to think about that. I just want to go back to when he was just Diddy, when he was showing up on TRL, when it was those days we didn't know what was going on behind the curtains, even though we know a lot of dark stuff was going on back then too. And the public's ability to just be like, we're good. I don't want to call it forgiving, but cognitive dissonance, but then still enabling the person's art to exist. And it doesn't mean you have to disconnect those pieces of your life and I guess, remember them fondly, but we have a hard time separating the two. We do with R. Kelly, we do with Michael Jackson, we do with all those sort of things. And whether you want to, again, I'm not going to go into the rabbit holes of who's guilty and who's not, but very strong allegations against all these people and very tangible evidence against all of them that really do not paint the picture of human beings that anyone in their right mind, I think, for the most part, would consider to be safe around children or good.
Or anyone.
Yeah. Or anyone, yeah.
They're just really unhealthy people that started out maybe healthy. And again, it's so... Isn't it a tragedy is when you see someone have such talent and they just take it and they get wrapped up in their own self-narcissistic ways and they throw it in the trash can. But to your point too, I think it will because this is so bland, because the charges that he was convicted of were so bland, it's not nearly the impact that's going to keep people running away from him. I think it's just going to get faded. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens next. Here's what I'm really interested in. Once he's sentenced today, will he continue to do those classes? Once he's sentenced today, if it's a light sentence and gets out, will he do great work for communities himself, or will he pass it off to someone else for image, rebranding and rebuilding? I mean,
I think he's going to do it. I mean, I think he's going to be out there. I think he's going to try and be a motivational person, and I think you'll get some people who will believe it. But I don't think it's coming from the right spot. It's coming from, I need to feed my ego. I need to feed this thing inside of me, rather than. I mean, people can look at it all different ways. Well, maybe that is redemption. Maybe that is somebody that truly did find the light and they're changing it. But presentation to the outside world is not necessarily the same as what's going on inside somebody, and only that person can truly know it. But I think any of us, who study human behavior for 2 seconds, can look and go,
You'll see the leakage. You'll see the leakage.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see it. Yeah.
And to that point, I think here's what we're good at on this is, no matter what happens with whether it's politics or religions or beliefs or covering these cases, we have been swayed back and forth, by new data coming in. I mean, the way we covered Karen Reed, we were back and forth on that because as new data comes in, new testimonies coming in, we're swaying back and forth on these. And same thing on the Delphi case. I mean, when we first went in there, I wasn't really thinking about him. We're thinking about, how corrupt the police department was or how weird and strange. And then we're looking at the defense attorneys that are talking about, Odinism and everything, like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden you meet him, Richard Allen, and you're like, oh my God, this wasn't about anything except them torturing this guy. Again, when you can maintain that objectivity, when you're taking the new data on things, it's much easier to see these arcs of what is. I'm to that point, I have to give these long narrative answers to. I think it's going to be really, really obvious, really, really quickly, if you can maintain objectivity on watching what he does afterwards, and if there's congruency between the words, actions, and deeds, because that's all I'm ever looking for is to see if someone. It's always think about this, so everyone can do this. If someone makes you feel creepy, it's because one, you're not close enough to have your own confirmation bias on liking or disliking, because that'll really screw up what you're observing potentially, unless you can remove yourself. But if someone makes you feel creepy, it's because there's incongruency between words, actions, and deeds. There's tempos that are off. They're pressing things on you. And so those are the things that are off-putting to us, because what's creepy? Creepier is things and people that don't make us feel safe, because there's a hidden agenda. There's a attempt of manipulation or subterfuge or something like that. And so that's why observing him, since I never liked him or disliked him, and with all these people we cover, it's really easy to kind of sit back and look at these arcs and say, well, here's boom, 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 boom. And for him to go from 0 to 100, self-serving to altruistically do these things, likelihood, damn close to 0. Now, will we make the attempt? Sure.
And I think, excuse me, I got to take a sip of water here.
That's all right.
As I'm about to talk, I'm coughing. I think one of the key things on anyone's prison when they're looking at Diddy or a character like this that has committed crimes as the ones that he has committed, or the ones he's accused of committing, and whether you want to believe it or not, and just believing the stories and the survivors and the sheer amount of people who have stories about Diddy, is believing and understand and going one way or the other. I believe a lot of things live in the gray, not with people like this.
Right.
People like this, they are either redeemable or they are not. They are either rehabilitatable or not. I'm in the camp of someone like Diddy is not. Maybe on the surface, maybe he will not reoffend technically, but I don't think you're truly changing the person. I don't think a person like that can truly be changed. I just don't. If you have it in you at some point in your life that you think stomping on your girlfriend's head in an elevator bank is a good idea, I don't care how fucked up you are. I don't care what drugs you're on. I don't care whatever you're doing. If that's ever a point in your life that this is a action you are capable of doing and taking, you're irredeemable. You're capable of doing it. You can do it again. You will likely do it again statistically. And I think there's just some people that are just trash, and there really isn't any fixing them. And that's how I feel about Sean Combs. That's my opinion there.
I probably agree about 99% on that. But I always say there's like a 1% because, I'm thinking that as you're doing this, you always see my eyes go up to the left as I'm thinking about these things.
Sure. So
yes, if you're dealing with child predators, pedophiles, co-burger types that have a brain malformation, which we don't really know about Diddy on that end of it. But here's what I say to your point, though: is he redeemable? In order to be redeemable, so think about this. Do our little thought experiments that I love to do. If someone has risen this high, in order to hit bottom, so to have an aha moment in your life, then you have to go to bottom to be able to start that climb back up to humanity. Mm-hmm. It's that rock bottom we all hit. I don't think he ever hit a bottom. So if he's up here and prison's down here, he probably fell in right in here. He even said the word uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
He was uncomfortable for 13 months. Is that really a bottom that you're going to have these aha moments?
No. And if you know how narcissists and people like this work, this is just part of the path. This is part of the show. This is part of the play that they're going to do for survival. And look, they're trying to survive on their own. I don't necessarily know that he's sitting there plotting, necessarily nefariously. I think he may think he's doing the right thing, but I think he has such a broken brain and so incapable of feeling empathy for other human beings that that's why it always feels weird and it feels off, because the capability for empathy, in my opinion, is not there. It doesn't exist. And when that doesn't exist in a human being, that makes him a very dangerous human being. And with the propensity and the power and the history that this man has, the odds of him falling back into something like this or just doing this stuff again behind closed doors, insanely high.
So let me throw something in.
Find it.
Sorry, Robin.
Sorry,
so he is now sober for the first time in 25 years. He's off the Xanax. He's off the alcohol.
Maybe.
Well,
as of right now, until he gets out, I can't imagine he can start popping bottles the second that ends.
Well, but I don't ever want to defend this man, but maybe the substances really were causing a lot of the issues. So what if we see a sober Diddy?
No.
What does that look like?
That's like saying, it's okay, maybe a sober husband doesn't beat his wife. Now that he's not drinking anymore, he's not going to do that. No. But if you're capable of doing it, you're capable of doing it, fucked up or not.
I get that, but I also... Now he's got a different baseline. So what? Sure. And again, I'm not defending the guy. I think he's absolute scum. But what if this is his path to redemption? Could it work?
No.
Tony says no. Robin, Todd, anyone?
So if he hit, to your point, Stacey, I've been around beautifully raging alcoholics and substance abusers in my life as well. And when So if indeed he's sober, because there's ways to get around that in prison as well, especially if you're connected like Diddy is. So I don't know the circumstances of the prison he's in and the connections he was able to maintain, because I don't think he really truly hit a bottom there, because he's Diddy. Now that being said, now if sobriety took hold, then it's not a 0 to 100. It's a slow crawl and walk back. So as many years as it took him to fall into this, it would be at least as many, if not double, to come back out. So I'm edging more on the Tony. No.
Okay.
There is no redemption. No. I mean, will it? You know, is it a road, a bump in the road? You know, a little speed bump. Sure. I mean, it's like Robin said, it's not 0 to 100, but you know, it's still there. It's still, again, it's one of those things. Like, there's certain people in this world, if you're diddling with kids, and I'm not saying Diddy diddled with kids, I'm saying people that do that. If that's in you, that's in you. That's not coming out.
Yeah. So
I mean, and if you're able to beat a woman, beat your wife, beat your girlfriend, beat anybody mercilessly that you care about, and do these sort of things, and have such unhealthy relationships like he was having, then that's in you. And you're not, I mean, you may change your ways and go, well, it's not for me anymore, because it makes other people look at me like I'm a monster. It's because you're a fucking monster.
So again, now we'll go on that side, because I was really focusing in on the physical abuse he was doing, but he's also an amazing amount of accused sexual abuse going on. So basically, between the physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, he lived completely without any moral, ethical boundaries for how long? That's a long time. And so
decades. In
order for him to start reintegrating a functional brain with ethics and morals, again, he's not going to wake up and say, oh my God, everything I was doing in life was completely back-assed wrong. And you know why he doesn't think that? Because he's teaching a class on how to be Diddy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good thing.
Yes.
You know,
he's not teaching a class on sobriety. He's not teaching a class on how to get over sexually abusing people. He's not teaching a class on how not to be violent. He's teaching a class on how to be Diddy.
Yeah.
Isn't that telling?
Yes. It's 1,000% telling.
So if he's teaching a class on how to be him, does he really think he's wrong?
No.
Do you think Masterclass is going to hire him to do seminars now?
God, I hope not.
God,
you know, stranger things have happened. You know, that's the reality of this. Stranger things have happened. And you just don't know, you know, the fact that we're even sitting here that he's, you know, so he didn't get charged on some of these, or didn't get found guilty on some of these things, is kind of nuts.
You know, if he wanted to keep his name in his class, if he really wanted to do a good job of showing the redemption, the class should have been called How Not to Be Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good one.
How do you know?
I mean, I love
free
doing
game
things live,
Diddy.
because, you know, as the brain's working live on this, I'm thinking, yeah, so if all he is a complete self-centered narcissistic ass that really abused women, sexually abused people, psychologically tormented and manipulated people, and he's teaching a class on how to be him, is he really redeemed? Is he really hit his bottom? I mean, no, he thinks the way he's rolling is absolutely fantastic, and he's going to show everyone else how to do it too. And all the other narcissists around him in there saying, oh, yeah, bravo, man, I want to do that now too, because I sucked at the way I was doing. I want to do the way he was doing it. Mm-hmm. Friggin' losers. And
that's and that's what's scary to me about society, because I think it's beyond an epidemic of narcissists that we have out there. Look at this and go, well, I'm gonna learn from him. Seems like a good one to learn from, because they relate to it, because they relate in some dark way that they can't necessarily speak out loud. And I'm not saying it's because they're out there necessarily doing the sort of exact things he was doing, but the narcissistic way of thinking, they attract one another, and it's like it reaffirms the behavior, it reaffirms unhealthy ways of living, and that's what they feed off of. And
it is. And so funny, because even with my own content, so here I am. I mean, yeah, everyone knows me. I am the glass half full positivity, you know, how to forge trust, healthy, strong relationships, and how to recognize people that aren't. you know, that kind of content is, I know it is, I sell it, I propagate it, I write books about it. It does okay. But if I really want to be super successful, like people in my same genre, if I just title something or did something or put something out there, how to manipulate the living fuck out of someone, it would sell gangbusters. Because that's what people want. They don't say they want it, but that's exactly what they want. Never in a million years would I do something like that, because, but that's what they want. And that's so Diddy's selling under this nice guise, how to be this good, great CEO and entrepreneur. But what you're really selling is how to be like me. A self-centered narcissist who's going to manipulate the fuck out of everyone. Look at me. First time you got me say that on the air.
I almost feel like we need to give an award. Yes. Wow.
I was very choosy, but I don't, you know, I'm not that guy that does that, but now I'm branded forever now. All right.
Hey, choosy moms choose Jeff. And
I just want to say, just one real quick comment, and then we can move on. I think as a society, we are so drawn by celebrity, and you look around us and you look at all the people in power that have celebrity in the world, in our country, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're drawn to as a society, which I think is very sad. But that's why I think that he will come out of this okay in the long run. He's going to walk out of this thing. It's not going to be a dark cloud over his head. We've seen it with other artists. We talked about Chris Brown a little bit yesterday and what he did and where he's at now. We're so drawn to celebrity, you could almost get away with doing what he did. And maybe he kind of is, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Todd, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, because here's what he's actually selling. You know, I don't get on anyone. I take note when people use word modifiers before things, like ethical leadership. You know, I hear the word ethical leadership and I just think to myself, oh, you actually are just double down. Leadership is about others.
Isn't that supposed to be?
Yeah, exactly. And then and so, you know, what he's actually doing here, he's trying to sell, because people can rationalize themselves. Oh, it's so actually okay. I'm learning from Diddy ethical manipulation. Just what? No, it's not. It's just crap and garbage. So if you want to learn how to be a loser, just take this class. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.